If you've been plugged into the hip-hop scene lately, you know there's mad drama popping off between some heavy hitters in the game.
5 Chicago gang members with ties to Lil Durk, OTF, accused of being hired to unalive Quando Rondo.
Ever since Durk got picked up by the feds in October 2024, social media timelines have been flooded with theories. But now newly surfaced FBI footage is shedding light on something much deeper. And right at the center of it all is Bricc Baby. Honestly, that's not too surprising. He's been speaking on the case in nearly every interview, constantly dropping hints and insinuating details that might be connected.
Wiretaps, recordings, and all that, like, he was in too deep with a J. Reed.
So now the real question is, did he actually snitch? Let's break it down. The streets are buzzing. Multiple reports surfaced in April 2025, claiming that federal authorities obtained wiretapped conversations where Lil Durk allegedly talked about payments tied to the murder-for-hire plots. One video alleged the feds planted an informant in a cell with one of Durk's associates, who then recorded incriminating conversations about money being exchanged for the hits. Another source suggested that Bricc Baby may have folded under pressure and confessed to something connected to Durk's murder-for-hire charges interview 4.
Wiretaps, recordings, and all that, like, he was in too deep with a J. Reed.
Court documents revealed a dude identified only as AJ, who got popped for possession of a stolen vehicle tied to a murder. He was later sent to Illinois River Correctional Center. According to the paperwork, the FBI placed a jailhouse informant in AJ's cell who allegedly recorded conversations where AJ spilled everything, planning the hit, executing it, and how the money was split afterward. That's a huge problem for Durk because it potentially ties him directly to financing the hit. Exactly. What prosecutors need to prove a murder-for-hire conspiracy. Recordings reportedly also mention someone named Marley, who was described as playing a major role in the homicide first-person testimony. Like, this is exactly what prosecutors use to drive conviction rates sky high, and it doesn't stop there. The leaked info suggests the feds have text messages that allegedly connect Durk straight to the murder plots, including discussions about payments. If those texts are legit, they could be the smoking gun the feds need to pin Durk as the mastermind. Now here's where things really heat up. How does Bricc Baby fit into all this? That's the million-dollar question, and it's got the internet in a full-blown chokehold. But before we unpack all that, let's get clear on what Durk is actually facing. He's currently on ice, held without bail at MDC Los Angeles, fighting some serious charges. Conspiracy to commit murder for hire, use of interstate facilities to carry it out, resulting in death, and multiple weapons charges. If convicted, this could have him buried under the jail. This whole case revolves around what prosecutors are calling a get-back plot for King Von's death. You already know, Von got killed. In that Atlanta parking lot brawl back in 2020, the feds say Durk wanted payback and allegedly put a bag on Quando Rondo's head, which led to the August 2022 shooting of Quando's cousin Savia Lil Pab Robinson at a gas station in LA. Quando survived, but Pab didn't. The feds are feeling themselves because of the mountain of evidence they say they've got. 230 gigabyte of digital files, surveillance footage, audio recordings, you name it. There's also over 2,000 pages of paperwork laying out the alleged conspiracy. That's why Durk's trial got pushed from January to October 2025. They need time to organize all that dirt. What's in those digital files? According to whispers in the streets, surveillance footage of the white BMW used in the shooting, GPS data connecting the ride to a sporting goods store where ski masks were bought, and bank records showing that FNF credit cards were used to book flights and hotels for the alleged shooters. The biggest bombshell? A text from Durk's phone telling someone, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." The feds are calling that the ultimate proof that Durk knew what was up and was actively trying to cover his tracks. Now onto those audio recordings. That's where things get extra spicy. This is where Bricc Baby comes into play. Bricc Baby, real name Rico Kennedy, is an LA rapper affiliated with the Rollin' 60s Crips. He's worked with names like Future and Young Thug after Durk. Got booked. Rumors started flying that Bricc Baby was co-conspirator 4 in the indictment, or at least someone who fed key info to the feds. Things really exploded after a no-jumper interview where Bricc reacted to the charges and casually mentioned Lil Pab's death. That clip went viral and fans ran with it, some even claiming Durk paid Bricc Baby $100K a month before the shooting to help set up Quando Rondo. But let's be clear, there's no actual evidence supporting any of that. Bricc has denied all involvement. In a Vlad TV interview, he said he's definitely not co-conspirator 4, and made it clear that if he was really part of this indictment, he wouldn't be out doing interviews. He also downplayed his connection to Quando, saying they only spoke a couple of times and that he never gave up any info or locations.
I wouldn't be right here doing all this first and foremost if I was co-conspirator number 4. Me and Quando Rondo, when this happened, me and Quando Rondo had officially talked 3 to 4 times.
In another sit-down, Bricc Baby addressed an 8-hour communication gap during the day of the arrest, explaining he was crashed out air self-medicating due to stress over a federal case involving his associates. He went hard denying any suggestion that he was being questioned by authorities or work.
There was a noticeable 8-hour or more gap in our communication, which I found intriguing.
Okay, so after the show and I see they all got wrapped up, I popped his head and pulled the line. I was asleep when y'all was doing that. You remember,
Really?
I woke up at 1 in the morning, right when Act was ending this stream.
Despite Bricc Baby's denials, the internet streets refused to let the speculation die. A Reddit thread blew up with users questioning how Bricc could speak so freely about such hot topics without facing any real consequences. Some suggested he might be cooperating with law enforcement, or worse, that he had fallen out with his gang. One user wrote, "Remember when he was in that hotel in Atlanta and there were hella cops around acting like they were following him? Looked more like a police convention, and he was part of it, lol." Others weren't so subtle, with one commenter saying, "Thought it was members over friends. Bricc would backdoor his own mama for an FNF chain," accusing him of being disloyal to. That Twitter wasn't any calmer. Posts like "Baby snitched on Durk" went viral while users debated whether he was co-conspirator 4 or had simply gone ghost after the indictment news dropped. Things hit a boiling point when Bricc Baby got into a heated exchange with Whack 100 on DJ Academic's livestream. During the back and forth, Bricc once again rejected any claims of snitching or cooperation. He stated that he was locked up on November 6, 2020, the same day an overt act in the indictment supposedly took place, which according to him proves he couldn't have been involved. He stuck to this story repeatedly and emphatically denying that he played any role in providing information against Lil Durk.
November 6, 2020, co-conspirator number 4 was had a conversation with Durk. It's no way possible it was me because on November 6, 2020, I was in jail.
The most explosive allegation in this entire case centers around an FNF member known only as Jam, who allegedly wore a wire for years, secretly collecting evidence against Lil Durk. Multiple sources identify Jam as the real rat, the one who wore a wire, gathered intel on the murder-for-hire plot, and even dropped a song subtly implicating Durk-leaked footage, allegedly shows Jam moving suspiciously, adding fuel to the fire. He doesn't match any of the named co-defendants, which has sparked rumors that he's cooperating as a witness instead of being charged outright. According to leaked info, after AJ got booked in March 2023, the feds approached him. That conversation supposedly gave investigators enough to start building a full-blown RICO case. What followed was a domino effect. Multiple people allegedly flipped and started naming names. Who ordered the hits, who was present, who took the trips, who paid for it all. Basically, they gave the feds a blueprint of the entire operation. Even more wild, reports say Durk wasn't blindsided by the arrests. Allegedly, he already knew Jam had snitched and expected the entire crew to get picked up at his birthday bash concert in Chicago. That might explain why when Durk got snatched at Miami International Airport, he supposedly had multiple escape plans in place, like he saw it coming. What makes all these allegations especially devastating is that they suggest the feds now have first-hand accounts of criminal activity, exact type of evidence that can bury someone at trial. Durk's legal team, led by high-profile attorney Drew Findling, aka the billion-dollar lawyer, has maintained his innocence from the jump. They argue that the evidence is circumstantial. At best, one big sticking point is the prosecution's use of Durk's lyrics in court. Experts like Professor Eric Nielsen from the University of Richmond have slammed this tactic as dangerously sloppy. Still, the charges are serious, and the mountain of evidence is massive. This is going to be an uphill battle for the defense. What's clear is that these alleged leaks have flipped public perception. What once seemed like a shaky case now looks like it's backed by a coordinated federal takedown with receipts, witnesses, and digital proof. So how did Durk even end up in this mess? Let's rewind the timeline and break down exactly how the Voice found himself in the middle of one of the most high-profile legal dramas in hip-hop history. Durk, real name. Durk Derek Banks rose from the streets of Chicago's drill scene to Grammy-level success, collaborating with everyone from Future to Drake. His rise from the trenches to the top looked like the ultimate come-up story. But all that came crashing down on October 24, 2024, when U.S. Marshals arrested him at Miami International Airport, shaking the culture to its core.
He's locked up. I got the whole mugshot. No, no. No.
According to the feds, Durk wasn't just trying to catch a regular commercial flight, he was allegedly trying to ghost the entire country. Investigators claim Durk had booked a private jet to Italy, and in a move that raised major red flags also, secured 2 one-way commercial flights, one to Switzerland via New Jersey and another to Dubai via Qatar, all booked for the same day. That triple escape plan had the feds convinced. Durk wasn't just a flight risk, he was practically gone already. To them, this wasn't the behavior of someone confident in their innocence. So what had Durk allegedly trying to dip out so urgently? On November 8, 2024, a federal grand jury dropped the hammer, indicting him on serious charges. Conspiracy to commit murder for hire, use of interstate facilities in a murder for hire resulting in death, and using, carrying, and discharging firearms in furtherance of a crime of violence resulting in death. These charges all stemmed from what prosecutors described as a calculated revenge plot against Quando Rondo, retaliation for King Von's death back in November 2020. The federal paperwork lays out a detailed timeline. Prosecutors allege that Durk put a bag on Quando Rondo's head, offering money and music opportunities through FNF to anyone willing to slide for Von. They claim 5 FNF associates stepped up: Kayvon London Grant, aka Cuz, DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, aka F. Diddy, Keith Jones, aka Flocka, David Bryan Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, Asa, Houston, aka F. Boogie. On August 18, 2022, the team allegedly got the drop from a longtime affiliate, identified in court docs only as the mysterious co-conspirator 4, that Quando was holed up at a specific hotel in LA with Durk supposedly. Bankrolling the whole move, the squad flew to California, rented luxury vehicles, copped ski masks, and secured heavy artillery, including what prosecutors describe as a fully automatic machine gun. The next day, August 19th, the indictment claims they tracked Quando Rondo and his cousin Lul Pab across the city in a Cadillac Escalade, eventually following them to a gas station near the Beverly Center. That's where they allegedly opened fire, letting off at least 18 rounds. Quando managed to escape. Lul Pab wasn't so lucky. He died from his injuries. What makes the government's case especially strong are the digital breadcrumbs allegedly tying Durk to the hit. Investigators claim a credit card linked to FNF was used to book flights, and hotels for the suspect's GPS data placed the murder vehicle at a sporting goods store, where ski masks were bought. Surveillance footage allegedly shows the suspects tailing the victims through LA before the shooting, after getting snatched. At the airport, Durk pleaded not guilty to all charges at his arraignment in Los Angeles on November 14, 2024. Despite his legal team putting together a hefty bond package, $3 million in equity from 2 Georgia properties, $1 million in cash from Sony Music and round-the-clock private security, Judge Patricia Donahue wasn't moved. On December 12, 2024, she denied his motion for pretrial release, citing Durk's resources and international connections as too big a flight risk, and just like that one of rap's biggest names found himself stuck behind bars fighting for his freedom. Prosecutors allege that while locked up at MDC Los Angeles, Lil Durk violated jail protocols by participating in unauthorized 3-way calls, further damaging his chances at securing pre-trial release. These alleged violations raised serious questions about his respect for authority and likely influenced how the court viewed his overall behavior and threat level. But the drama didn't stop there, as if the Quando Rondo situation wasn't already heavy. Prosecutors dropped another bombshell during Durk's detention hearings. They claimed he might be connected to a second murder-for-hire plot, this one tied to the January 2022 killing of Stephen Mack, a 24-year-old alleged shot caller from the Smashville faction of the Gangster Disciples in Chicago. According to an unsealed FBI affidavit from 2023, Mack was fatally shot while leaving a youth center in Chicago. The document allegedly references text messages and social media posts discussing a payment from Durk for Mac's murder, supposedly as retaliation for the 2021 killing of Durk's brother Dante D. Thang Banks. While Durk hasn't been formally charged in this second case, prosecutors used the affidavit to argue that he should remain in custody, portraying him as someone with a pattern of violent retaliation. And that's not all. Federal prosecutors also claimed Durk offered money for other alleged hits, including one targeting a family member of a witness. Though details on that remain scarce, these allegations surfaced during Durk's December 2024 detention hearing as part of the government's effort to paint him as a continued danger to the community. On top of the criminal charges, Durk is facing multiple civil lawsuits that could seriously drain his finances and tarnish his legacy. On February 24, 2025, Andrea Laquila Robinson, the mother of Savia Lul Pab Robinson, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County Court against Durk, his business manager, and a related company. The suit claims that Lul Pab's death in the 2022 Los Angeles shooting was the direct result of a targeted attack orchestrated by Durk. In a separate action from October 2024, FBG Duck's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk King Von's estate and several music companies. This suit alleges that Durk and FNF orchestrated a violent campaign against FBG Duck, including placing a $100,000 bounty on his head, which allegedly led to his fatal shooting in Chicago's Gold Coast in August 2020. Despite the mountain of legal issues, Durk has managed to keep a connection with his fan base. On March 28, 2025, while still behind bars, he dropped his 9th studio album titled Deep Thoughts, proving that even in the darkest moments, he's still speaking to the streets, but circling back to the core issue, the snitching allegations. In street culture, cooperating with authorities is the ultimate betrayal. It breaks an unwritten code of loyalty that defines relationships in communities where trust in law enforcement is virtually non-existent. So when whispers started surfacing that someone close to Durk had flipped it, shook the streets hard. If the rumors about either Jam or Bricc Baby wearing a wire are true, it would be a devastating breach of trust, especially for someone like Durk, who's always emphasized loyalty in both his lyrics and business. Multiple sources claim that Jam secretly cooperated with authorities for years, allegedly collecting damning evidence that directly ties Durk to murder-for-hire plots. If that's accurate, it's not just betrayal, it's a surgical strike from someone inside Durk's own circle. Even Bricc Baby's commentary raised suspicions. In a Vlad TV interview, he critiqued the entire operation, calling out tactical mistakes like flying hitters from Chicago to LA, saying local shooters would have drawn less attention. He even pointed out the ski mask purchases and hotel stays as rookie moves that left an easy trail for the feds to follow. But perhaps the most incriminating thing Bricc Baby said? When asked hypothetically, he admitted that if he was broke, he'd give up Quando Rondo's location to Lil Durk. That comment lit the internet on fire and blurred the line between speculative banter and potential self-incrimination.
You said that if you actually knew Quando's address, you would have given it to Durk.
Just like on some loyalty, I just said that again right here. I said, had I been low on some money or something and somebody just called my phone and I had a location, like Adam even agreed to that.
Come on, Bricc. You can't be saying stuff like that on camera, regardless of who said what. Lil Durk seems to be in really deep, this knee-deep. What could the future hold from the F-Boss? The fallout and future for Lil Durk as the dust settles. On these bombshell allegations and leaked recordings, we got to keep it a stack. Lil Durk's future ain't looking too bright. Legal experts say if these alleged wiretap conversations and snitch testimonies are legit and admissible in court, Durk's defense is basically cooked. The feds boast a conviction rate over 90% in cases that go to trial. A stat that becomes even more terrifying when considering evidence like recorded conversations and cooperating witnesses, which typically seal a defendant's fate.
I don't necessarily think you're just beating a Fed case like that. I think there's gonna be a difference where, 5 years, yeah, you'll survive that. 10 years, you'll survive that. A 80-year sentence plus life, you're not making it.
The federal system operates very differently from state courts. Federal prosecutors don't usually bring charges unless they've built a rock-solid case, one that practically guarantees a conviction. The extensive evidence collection in Durk's Case suggests they've pieced together a detailed and compelling narrative against him and his co-defendants, one that's going to be mad difficult to dismantle. Durk's high-profile attorney Drew Findling is facing the ultimate uphill battle. His defense strategy will likely include challenging whether certain leaked recordings are admissible in court and attacking the credibility of any cooperating witnesses. The defense is also expected to argue hard against prosecutors using Durk's lyrics as evidence, claiming that this unfairly misinterprets artistic expression as literal confession. But even with the best legal team, money can buy the sheer volume of evidence, and the specific nature of the charges makes this an extremely difficult case to beat. If convicted on all counts, Durk faces a maximum sentence of life in federal prison, a possibility that sent shockwaves through his fan base and the hip-hop community at large. Beyond the criminal charges, Durk is entangled in multiple civil lawsuits that could further drain his finances and tarnish his legacy. The lawsuit filed by Savia Lul Pab, Robinson's mother, is seeking damages for her son's death, which she claims resulted from a targeted hit orchestrated by Durk. Meanwhile, FBG Duck's mother is suing Durk King Von's estate and several music companies, alleging that Durk's crew placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck's head, leading to his fatal shooting in Chicago's upscale Gold Coast neighborhood. In 2020, the financial impact of these legal battles goes far beyond potential civil payouts. Since his October 2024 arrest, Durk has been held without bond, meaning no tours, no major appearances, and limited ability to promote his work. While he did release his 9th studio album, Deep Thoughts, in March 2025, promotion was severely hampered by his incarceration. And legal representation at this level isn't cheap. A lawyer like Drew Findling commands top-tier fees, and preparing for a federal murder conspiracy trial racks up costs fast. Between mounting legal bills, lost income, and potential civil damages, Durk could be looking at financial ruin, even if he somehow beats the charges. But perhaps the most significant cost is to his legacy. Before his arrest, Durk had cemented his place as one of drill music's leading voices, with a Grammy win, multiple platinum plaques, and a story that epitomized hip-hop's come-up narrative. Now that legacy risks being overshadowed by allegations of orchestrating violence rather than simply rapping about it. If convicted, he'd join the ranks of artists like Bobby Shmurda, Max B, and C Murder, whose careers were derailed by legal issues. But unlike some of those cases, Durk's charges suggest he allegedly orchestrated violence, not just participated in it directly. The situation has drawn inevitable comparisons to Young Thug's ongoing RICO case in Atlanta, where prosecutors claim the YSL Collective operated as a criminal enterprise. Both cases underscore increasing law enforcement scrutiny on rap groups and raise deeper concerns about how the justice system interprets hip-hop culture. Critics argue that authorities often misread lyrics and music videos as literal confessions, ignoring the genre's roots in storytelling and metaphor. But in Durk's case, the government claims to have evidence that extends far beyond creative content, including financial records, surveillance footage, and recorded conversations, that makes it way harder to argue he's just being targeted for being a rapper. Durk, like many drill artists, built his brand on music that kept it real, rapping raw and unfiltered about street life. Now prosecutors allege he took those lyrics from the booth to the block with devastating real-world consequences that raises tough questions about the responsibility artists have for the narratives they push, especially when so many young fans look up to them as role models. As Durk's case heads toward trial in October 2025, several key factors could determine the outcome, one of the biggest. Whether any of his co-defendants' flip court documents already reveal that DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, aka F. Diddy, has requested a pre-plea sentencing report, which could signal he's exploring a deal. If he, or any other co-defendant, agrees to testify, that could dramatically strengthen the prosecution's case. There's also a real possibility that Durk himself might seek a plea deal, especially given the life sentence hanging over his head, but any deal would almost certainly require him to admit guilt to serious charges, potentially causing irreparable damage to his rep and legacy. Online fans are split. Some argue that Durk's alleged actions were justified under the code of the streets, especially if he was trying to get back for King Von. Others see it as a tragic case of a successful artist throwing away everything over revenge. One Reddit user summed it up bluntly: I really thought Durk had turned a corner, pushing for peace, trying to uplift the youth. But now it feels like he threw it all away to settle a score for Vaughn. As for Bricc Baby, the snitching allegations continue to follow him, despite his repeated denials. In March 2025, after being arrested in Operation Drawdown, he called into the No Jumper podcast from jail, denying rumors that he'd been shanked and insisting he'd soon be out on bail. While his case appears unrelated to Durk's, his legal situation has only intensified speculation about whether he's working with authorities. In the bigger picture, Durk's case reopens the long-running conversation about violence in hip-hop and the line between entertainment and real life. Consequences. What began as a lyrical feud between Durk's F Collective and Quando Rondo's crew allegedly spiraled into deadly violence with ripple effects far beyond the music industry. With everything evolving so quickly, fans are left with more questions than answers. Who else will get caught up in the case? Will Lil Durk beat the charges? Will any F members take a deal? And is this the end of an era or just the beginning of a darker chapter? Whatever happens, I'll be here with the latest updates. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to check out the videos on your screen right now for more deep dives into hip-hop's most explosive stories.